I'm back and this is Psychedelic Actualization. On this channel we talk about topics like self-realization, self-actualization and working with psychedelics to live a more authentic and fulfilling life. So if you're interested in any of these topics, subscribe to the channel right now. Today I want to share my whole story with cannabis, my relationship to weed. Because I have spent the last 1,000 years without smoking weed or without consuming cannabis in any form. And I've been a stoner for like 3 years before. I want to share my story, how I got into it, what it gave me, all the benefits, what it took from me, all the dangers, and the years afterwards, how it was to spend 1,000 days without cannabis and how I want to move forward. So stay tuned for that. My story. First of all, keep in mind the effects are different for everybody. Like, weed affects every individual in a very unique way. And you kind of gotta figure out your own relationship to this wonderful plant. So how I got into it, like many people, I got into it in school. Friends were smoking cannabis, somehow I got aware of it and I tried it. And the first couple of times I tried it with friends, didn't feel anything. And then I bought a glass pipe and I filled it up with like 1 or 2 grams pure cannabis. And I smoked it by myself and had basically my first psychedelic experience. It was such a great experience. And from this moment on, I fell in love with cannabis, like many people do. And yeah, I did it for 3 years. I used it daily, like a couple grams a day. From the moment I woke up till the moment I went to bed, and even in night sometimes, I was using it a lot. Because you kind of get into this state that cannabis becomes a part of your identity, right? It's like I could function normally and well and do all my stuff, but also everything was more fun with cannabis. So why not just smoke a lot of cannabis? And it became part of my identity, and I'll have to say I didn't regret a single joint. I didn't regret smoking at all for this time. So because it gave me so much, it changed me in such a good way as well, at least from my point of view. So first of all, it opened me up to my authentic self. It felt authentic and I felt more authentic. And paradoxically, some people report back that it gives them paranoia and a little bit of anxiety. I felt more confident and had a sense of self-love through my use of cannabis, because it aligned me with my authentic self, and I was not afraid to express that. I didn't care anymore what other people thought of me, even though I was smoking. And that was a huge change for me and a huge benefit that cannabis gave me. It made me more stoic and calm and just very relaxed. And yeah, it gave me a sense of true peace also in my life. Because through this not caring about anything, I felt a true sense of peace. It also made me more kind I would say, and a little bit more playful because of this shift in perspective. And it broadened my perspective. It made me aware of a bigger picture view upon culture. First of all, also it got me through school, because when I was having these first awakenings also with LSD, it was difficult to get through school, right? Because it's such a weird system kind of, and you're not allowed to express your opinion freely. And so it got me through school, smoking a lot in school. In every break, it was just beautiful, a beautiful ally to get me through this phase of my life. It connected me more to nature and made me aware of the beauty of nature. It spiked my interest in spirituality in combination with LSD and reading a little bit about philosophy and Zen Buddhism. Like, this interest was there, but cannabis brought it more to the surface. And yeah, it aligned me and deepened my connection to spirit, to meditation, to psychedelics, and to consciousness itself. It spiked my interest and deepened my connection to consciousness itself, which is a huge benefit. It's so beautiful. Also, of course, like many people, it gave me a sense of friends and connections. All these stoner circles with all those beautiful people was beautiful at the time. And also it made my work as a waiter more fun, because everything was more fun with cannabis. And of course it gave me a sense of pleasure and comfort and release. And that's what we all love, right? But also, cannabis took a lot from me. I think there are a lot of dangers in entering a relationship with cannabis. I think it has nothing to do with the plant itself, but how we use it and how conscious we are about our use. And it's very easy, especially with this plant, to fall into an abusive relationship with the plant, and that is not beneficial anymore. Because initially we have these benefits, but like in every relationship, the deeper we enter into the relationship, the more is revealed, right? And that the more work we have to put into it to keep that awareness and that consciousness of the intention. So what I did was I did wrong intentions, unconscious use of cannabis, which led to me using it as an escape, as just for pleasure, right? It just for the dopamine hits and not related to spirituality anymore. So for example, one extreme example is to get so high on dopamine. I was watching porn and masturbating, and then on the peak I was smoking a joint so I could get the double hit of dopamine, and that was just intense pleasure indulgence, which is just over the top and not necessary. Like, it was beautiful, of course it was beautiful, but from my standpoint, from today, I would say it's not necessary. You can get this connection and this sense of self-love and love from nature and from our internal state of being itself. So that was kind of bad, I would say. And as I said, this cannabis becoming a part of my identity, that was a huge part that also was not so beneficial after some time. Because I was a proud stoner. I was like, I love it so much. I'll never be able to stop, and I just love it so much. So that's why I connected everything with weed. Even though I would hang out with friends who were not smoking weed, I would go out with them into nature and I would smoke my joint. And because it would be more fun. And so everything I did became about weed and about enhancing it with weed, which is, I think, not a good thing to do. And we kind of as humans, we love to create stories, right? So I was creating stories about it. If it feels so good, then why should I stop? And it's not harming me, right? So yeah, and it's not harming you in a sense that it's really dangerous, but you don't even notice the deeper you go into the relationship how it changes your life, and maybe the dangers and what it takes from you. You don't even notice it in that state of being. And I didn't notice. I was like, I'm feeling alright, so why should I stop? And it's a good question, which I will come to in the next video, how to stop smoking cannabis. A lot of tips. You can watch it right over here to watch that video, which is gonna be really interesting. And also, relationships and friendships were built upon my use of cannabis. So all those stoner friends, I was starting to sell cannabis to kind of finance my use. So all this time, it was taking a lot of time and energy to spend time with these people. And also my romantic relationship was built upon cannabis. So actually, that was the story of how I got into smoking so much. My girlfriend at the time was smoking a lot of cigarettes, and I didn't like cigarettes at all. So I was just replacing every cigarette with cannabis. And that's how it came to be that we smoked so much cannabis, and the whole relationship was built upon the use of cannabis, which was not very nice, especially in those times when I tried to stop, right? More on that in the next video. But this created a kind of dependency, and I would say dependency of any kind is not really beneficial in your life. At least it was not in my life. And it kind of like these little things. I was functioning well, but it made me a little bit less productive. I was dozing off during meditation, just falling asleep during my 1 hour long meditations. Unconscious TV and food consumption. Memory loss. I don't remember anything from that time. But memory is a weird topic because I don't remember anything from before, and also I don't remember everything from the last 1,000 days, right? Low energy. I was not reading as much when I was high. I was not exercising as much when I was high. And it just took a lot of time and money, right? And yeah, that's it. That's what the dangers. And then I had to weigh out if the benefits were outweighing the dangers. Keep in mind, I value and love cannabis. I still do. It's my love for it is so deep. That's why it's so interesting, this relationship. And also that's why I had to stop, because I love it so much. And I always have, and I always will love it, I guess. It's a beautiful plant, Li, and all the bad stuff that I was describing was coming from myself. It was not cannabis's fault, it was my fault, right? And that's what I guess we have to realize, that all the bad stuff, it's not coming from the plant, but it's our relationship and our use of those plants that are harming us, and then our actions in the world. Because I think you can be a stoner and smoke all the time and do beautiful stuff, do beautiful work and have beautiful relationships and be in alignment. But sometimes, as I said, those dangers and this harm is kind of sneaking into your life without you even noticing it. And that's why I stopped. And why I stopped was also, I think many stoners feel that way, many smokers. It was not 100% in alignment anymore. Because after some time of smoking so much, I was not sure anymore if I actually want to smoke. So I was having questions if I should stop. And then I kind of tried but didn't, because I didn't want it to stop fully, right? But also I didn't want it to stop, but I wanted to stop, both at the same time, which is kind of creating this resistance of not being 100% in alignment with yourself anymore, which was difficult. And also I had to stop selling cannabis because it was just taking so much of my energy and my time, which was not good. So then I took the experiment. I was like, basically why I stopped was to experience life without being high, because being high, being stoned was my normal state of being in those 3.5 years. And so I was like, well, it's gonna be interesting how it is to experience reality without being high all the time. So just as an experiment, I decided I'm gonna stop for 1 year, just to experience reality under a different sense of perception. And it's been 3.5 years without smoking any THC, CBD, consuming any products of cannabis anymore, and I really feel good, I would say. So now I'm gonna come to all those years afterwards, what it taught me and how I want to move forward. Well, I used other psychedelics and stimulants and have my other kinds of addictions in those last years, but this video is about cannabis. Also, what made it easier to stop for me at the time was that my relationship ended at the time, so it was kind of a fresh new start in a new environment, that it made it easier for me to fully decide upon this and commit to this experiment of not smoking for a year. And the years afterwards were very interesting, very amazing. I don't know how they would have played out, but I noticed definitely changes in myself and in my state of perception, of course, and also in my sense of identity, because this part was not part of my identity anymore, even though I still love it, right? So, first of all, I don't remember what being high on cannabis is like at all anymore. It's very interesting that I don't have any memory of what it's like to be high on cannabis after all these years. Because sometimes with other psychedelics like LSD or DMT, when I can deeply breathe and focus, sometimes I get into this remembrance of the tryptamine state. But I cannot get into a remembrance of the THC state, which is very, very interesting. And I also noticed, since I was started smoking cannabis and using psychedelics also, I never came down. Like, I do not feel sober. I don't know what sober means anymore. Because after I stopped smoking cannabis, I still experience this reality in a different state. Because before smoking cannabis, I was kind of unconscious, I would say. But after my using it so heavily for 3 years, I still feel high. But just like high on life, high on breath, high on exercise, high on consciousness itself. And that was not the case before, and it kind of I never came down. So I don't know what it would be like to smoke cannabis now. It would be very interesting. So cannabis changed my reality forever. And I don't regret it. I think it's great. I just look around, I look at the trees, I look at nature and people in a different way. And that change stayed with me, which is beautiful. But also, not smoking anymore made me do more exercise, work out, do a lot more reading, which is very beneficial for me at this point in my life. I have more clarity and also motivation and ambition to achieve something in this world. Like this productivity, these good habits. First of all, the good habits are easier to do. I have kind of more of this discipline without the cannabis. And I'm more focused and ambitious about earthly and cultural concerns and things. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I would say from my current point of view, I want to integrate myself into culture and build something up. So I think it's a good thing for me at the moment. But also I would say it's a good thing to have this bigger picture view of stepping outside of culture and earthly and cultural desires, which is very great with cannabis, right? Cannabis can do that very easily. But I think without it, it's very easy and definitely more easy to be motivated and disciplined towards earthly and cultural concerns, which can be very beneficial, right? Which can also be a trap in itself, to be trapped in culture and trapped in earthly things. But everything has its time and place. I still have no dreams. I have no dreams before cannabis, no dreams during cannabis, and no dreams after cannabis. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'll get into that in the future. Just practicing a lot of lucid dreaming maybe, because it's such an interesting topic. And yeah, even though I was traveling and I was going to hippie festivals and places with a lot of people who are stoned, I didn't feel the desire to smoke again. I was just like, no, thank you, I'm taking a break for a year. And even after that year, I'm like, sorry, but no, I'm taking a break. And because it just feels in alignment. So for me, it was very easy to stop. And yeah, I don't know why, but I'm gonna explain the reasons of how I structured my reality in a way that it made it easier to stop. And my cravings, contemplations about cravings. I do have the cravings for cannabis. Still, after 3.5 years of not smoking a single joint, I still think sometimes, oh, it would be nice. First of all, in two categories. It would be nice to smoke again for spiritual exploration and use it as a psychedelic and as an entheogen, right, to recognize God. And also it would be nice to use it for pleasure, as a release, for relaxation after a long or hard day of work. I still have these feelings and these cravings and this desire to indulge again. and it's very interesting. Like sometimes I do miss it. I do miss to just be high all the time, because it's just so nice and so easy. But also I think there is a benefit to facing emotions and facing challenges and reality without the use of cannabis, because it makes you grow as a human being to just face it head on and not go into an escape of cannabis. And I think that's also how I want to move forward. How I want to move forward is to use it consciously, to use it with intention in a ceremonial setting, and then see where this goes. But also, I'm kind of afraid, I would say. I'm kind of afraid, that's why I haven't started yet, right? To fall into this abusive daily use again. And also, I would say, I have to contemplate. Maybe I actually do want to smoke every day for the rest of my life, because it is just so beautiful. But that's something I think everybody has to decide for themselves, and then get into and tap into an alignment with the fact of your decision, and feel for yourself if it's benefiting you to smoke so much, to smoke occasionally in a ceremonial setting, or to just take a break and leave it for good. Cannabis, the green goddess. I love it so much. It put me more in touch with myself and with my emotions, but also leaving it behind put me more in touch with myself. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to see my first time smoking cannabis after 3.5 years, I'm gonna record it live. I'm gonna do it by myself in a ceremonial setting. Then subscribe to the channel. That video is gonna come soon. I do feel the desire to just connect with that plant again, to start the relationship again and see how it feels like. I'm very excited about that. It's gonna be a very interesting experience. Probably one of the most interesting experiences of my life. Starting to smoke consciously again after 3.5 years, after 3 years of being stoned, and then 3.5 years of a break. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's my whole story with cannabis. That's my point of view on the benefits and the dangers that cannabis revealed in my life. And yeah, as I said, subscribe to this channel. You can follow me on Instagram, Psychedelic Actualization. Go to my website, psychedelicactualization.com, if you want to talk to me one-on-one. And I'd say I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Blessings.